Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, of course, but we're going to pick out the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, one that's flying under the radar a bit, and then our favourite business story. So may I nominate what I think was the biggest story?
Go for it.
Look, it's a big week for the economy. We had the Reserve Bank leaving interest rates on hold, and then the next, so that was on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we had the monthly inflation numbers. Now, the thing about the Reserve Bank was that no one was expecting them to move on rates, not up, not down. But what was interesting, that really there wasn't that much of a discussion, it seemed, about either hiking or lowering. They seem to be coming from a more neutral position. The next day, though, those inflation numbers, that was reasonably exciting, you would say. The monthly CPI numbers showed headline inflation falling sharply to 2.7%, back to the target band for the Reserve Bank of between 2 to 3%. But that was largely due to power bill rebates. The trimmed mean, the measure that the Reserve Bank really focuses on, it is still sitting at 3.4%. So it is not yet in the target band, still away from it, but it is heading in the right direction, Sean.
Sure is. My big story for the week is the one about the two big supermarket chains, Coles and Woolies, beggars belief that they could possibly be guilty of what the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission is alleging. The watchdog claims that the supermarkets offered certain products at a regular price for at least 180 days. They then increased the price of the product by at least 15% for a relatively short period of time. Then they dropped the price. And if Woolies was like prices drop down at Coles, the idea is that they have a price for a period, push it up for a short time, and then drop it by not quite as much. This is all untested. We haven't heard from Coles and Woolies, but but obviously the ACCC thinks it has a case. Quite an incredible story.
Let's look at most remarkable story. There was a big story this week out of China, and this could have actually almost been in the biggest story of the week category, considering the impact that it has on the rest of the world, and in particular in Australia. Beijing made moves to stimulate its economy. We're talking about spending measures to stabilise the struggling property sector there. We're talking about forceful rate cuts. And the effect on Australia as well was immediate. The price of iron ore jumped, which in turn meant the share prices of our three biggest miners rose. Oil prices picked up. The Australian dollar hit a record for 2024 and then went higher still. It really is quite remarkable just how big an impact these moves in China have on the rest of the world, but really have on Australia.
Yeah, you're not wrong. A lot of fallout from that one.
Sleeper story. Have you found a sleeper story for us, Sean?
I've got a story that won't go to sleep, and that's negative gearing. It's back. It began when 9 media newspapers reported that Treasury's been asked to do some modelling around negative gearing and housing ownership. 2.3 million Australians own an investment home. $48 billion in rental deductions are claimed every year. This is political dynamite. When the story emerged, everyone jumped on it. Opposition Peter Dutton gave what he called an absolute guarantee. He wouldn't change negative gearing. The Greens came out and said, why don't you negotiate with us over negative gearing? That just upped the problem for Labor because the opposition immediately started calling it Greens policy. The Prime Minister fought hard to play it down. Mr Albanese said he wasn't sure who made the request. He has no plans to make changes, though he said something similar to that 12 months ago about stage 3 tax cuts, and they got changed. This story is big enough to impact the federal election. Looking forward to it.
We are going to hear an awful lot about that one, Sean. Last story. Favourite story, Sean. What was it for you this week?
Talk about everything hitting the fan. Star Entertainment Group finally got some good news this week. It secured a $200 million financial rescue package. Corporate lenders have agreed to a new debt facility, 2 tranches, $100 million each, first available shortly. However, the Star will have to pay a ridiculously high interest rate of 13.5%. It also failed to do a deal with the Queensland government over tax relief. That'll cost it about $60 million. There's a fair chunk of that initial $100 million tranche out the window. Of course, the group's still reeling from the second New South Wales Independent Casino Commission inquiry by barrister Adam Bell SC that found the group was continuing to fail the standards required of a casino operator. Finally, it's ruled off its 2024 financial accounts, I suppose. Hopefully, new management can turn it around, at least for shareholders' sakes. Not sure they can.
I feel bad. Here you are talking about kind of an ASX-listed company and all of these extraordinary details. And my favourite story of the week, Sean's about yogurt.
Tell me about it.
It doesn't really compare, maybe, but how about this? Australian consumers are now spending $1.92 billion a year on yogurt. Yogurt is booming. Bega, the biggest producer, owns brands like Farmers Union and Dairy Farmers and Yoplait. And Bega says they know this industry, right? They say industry-wide sales of yogurt are up 11%. Compare that to milk. Sales only rose 2%. Everyone wants kind of the high-protein yogurt and the probiotic yogurt and the reduced sugar, and they're buying the big jumbo kind of tubs because, well, household budgets are being stretched and they're buying the single serves. Really, it is a great time, Sean, to be in the yogurt business.
Yes, sure is.
That is my favourite story of the week, and that's 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.